Hey guys, it's Rosemary from The Hint of Rosemary, and today I'm going to be making one of my favorite Arabic dishes called Ouzi. So the first thing I do is I get my ground beef. You can also use ground lamb. This is about a pound of ground beef this time. And I sprinkle it with salt and pepper. Then massage the salt and pepper in. Okay, let this rest just about 15 minutes up to a half hour while you prepare the rest of the ingredients for your ouzi. So the other ingredients that go into ouzi are a very large yellow onion, sauteed in ghee instead of butter because ghee has so much more flavor than butter. We have dried lime and bay leaves, crushed cardamom pods, a cinnamon stick, and cloves. This is Arabic 7 spices that we got from Jordan, and this is fresh cracked black pepper and pink sea salt, and this is brown rice. I have made ouzi using basmati rice, wild rice, and brown rice. I actually prefer brown rice or wild rice because it adds a really nice, rich, smoky sort of flavor from the whole grain. So ouzi can be eaten on its own, but it is typically served with some kind of roasted leg of lamb or chicken on top. Today I'm serving my ouzi with roasted chicken on top. So one whole chicken cut into 4. It has the bones inside and the skin still on. So the sauce that I marinated it overnight in is a lot of different things that gives it a really delicious and unique flavor. It's important to marinate at least one night just so the chicken has time, or the lamb has time, to soak in all those flavors. So last night I blended up an entire large yellow onion, 5 cloves of fresh garlic, 1 tablespoon of red pepper paste, 2 teaspoons of Arabic 7 spices, 1 teaspoon of ground cardamom, 1 teaspoon of adobo powder, 1 teaspoon of fresh black pepper, half a teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, half a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning, 1 teaspoon of curry powder, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, the juice of 1 lemon, and 1 tablespoon of pink sea salt. So I blended up all of those ingredients, tossed my chicken in it, covered it up, and soaked it in the fridge overnight. And now I'm gonna roast it in the oven. I am going to do 425 degrees for 20 minutes uncovered, just to kind of start to crisp up the top. Then I'm gonna cover it up and roast it at a low temperature of 275 degrees for about 2.5 hours. Here I've got 1 tablespoon of ghee. If you want a stronger flavor, you can actually add 2 tablespoons of ghee. 1 large diced yellow onion. Saute this until it is nice and soft. So while the onions cook and before I brown the beef, I get 3 cups of beef broth heated over medium-low heat, and then I put a lid on it just so not too much evaporates out. So keep your broth hot because we're gonna pour hot broth over the top. Next, we're going to add the pound of ground beef or lamb if you're using it that we massaged with salt and pepper. And I like to add my spices right along with my beef because raw meat soaks up so much flavor, and instead of adding the spices with the water, I noticed that adding the spices along with the beef gives me a super flavorful ouzi. Next we have 1 whole dried lime. You can get these at your Arabic market usually. 2 whole bay leaves, 1 cinnamon stick, 2 whole cloves, and these are 5 cardamom pods that I crushed under a knife so that they release more flavor. 2 teaspoons of Arabic 7 spices. This is 1 teaspoon of black pepper and a tablespoon of pink sea salt. I kind of push my bay leaves off to the side just so these ones don't get crushed too much, but they're still starting to let out some of their flavor from the heat of the pan. So we're going to cook this until it's golden brown. Keep breaking it up as you cook. You want your chunks of beef or lamb and your Ouzi rice to be super, super small. And I'm cooking this over a medium-low heat, just so it gives my beef enough time to soak up the flavors. It's kind of mashed with the onions. I am gonna fold in my bay leaves and my cinnamon stick and my dried lime. Let that sit and I'll come back in a couple minutes. Okay, now that my beef has gotten pretty brown, I'm going to crank up the heat to high so the pan starts heating up, so when I add my hot broth, everything boils really fast. About 1.5 cups of frozen mixed vegetables. Make sure you're adding these straight from the freezer because I noticed if you thaw them out for too long, they get kind of mushy in your Ouzi. I'm doing 2 cups of washed brown rice. You can also use any basmati rice, or I've also done it with 2 cups of wild rice. Just a note on the wild rice, it doesn't suck up as much water, so I'd probably only use about 2.5 cups of the water instead of the 3 cups if you are going with the wild rice. Otherwise, use the 3 cups of hot broth. All right, last, let's pour over the 3 cups of hot beef broth. Bring this to a boil, and then we are going to cover it up and cook on low for 15 minutes. Now that it's boiling, I'm going to reduce the heat to low, and I'm going to cook it for just about 15 minutes or until the rice has absorbed all of the liquid.